With service second to none, Deary Brothers Lincoln of Iowa City has been earning the business of customers in Johnson County and the surrounding area since 2010. Deary Brothers Lincoln is a full-service dealership offering new Lincoln custom orders with a dedicated sales, service, and parts department. They are proud to be here for you. As a happy customer, the entire Deary staff was unbelievable to work with. They found the vehicles our family was looking for, and we will definitely be doing business with them in the future. Check out Deary Brothers Lincoln on Facebook and follow them on Twitter at Deary Bros. Hello and welcome to the Leave Your Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Morio, and on today's episode, we have a woman who inspires me with her selflessness, intelligence, and giving. Her spirit is, it shines so bright, but I want to welcome Dr. Kimberly Morio to the podcast. Welcome, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. I think we've been talking about your podcast with the production crew a lot, and I've been telling them about just how much you've inspired me and just how long our friendship has come a long way since you came out of school.
It has grown. It has grown. It has gone through many shapes and obstacles to come where we're at right now. So.
Absolutely. So, well, there's a lot of things you do, but we got to start out first with where you grew up. So it's pretty cool because I got to come out to your house recently, and I didn't know that you grew up in Solon, and your home now is the same plot of land that you grew up on. So tell us about growing up in Solon, your family, and everything like that.
So, we actually came to Iowa a little bit later in life. We moved about 15 times before that. So I learned a lot about myself in multiple different situations, but thankfully we did. We landed in Solon. My parents bought a house on a small little lake, and it's where my brothers and my sister and I grew up. And then thankfully we were able to buy a little piece of land kind of right next to my parents, and then chose to build our house there.
Yeah.
So Solon's just a wonderful community. Cedar Rapids is a wonderful community. Mm-hmm. But simply just from going around the country for different events, I think that you realize how special just Iowa is, period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving 15 times, you realize this is home.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so it seems like caregiving, which I love it because my mom's a nurse, but you started pretty early as far as your plight to help people. And so I think you were a nursing assistant. So how did you get into that? And then obviously it transferred into you going to Iowa undergraduate and then dental school. But so, what created this desire in you to help people?
I am so surprised you remember that story. Well, I think it comes from having some really good mentors, and those mentors are people that I love, and the dearest today is my mother and my father. Mm-hmm. They were the ones that told me in order to be an effective leader, you need to be able to sit in every seat.
Right.
And my mom and dad knew I wanted to be in medicine or some sort of caregiving, so in high school, I was able to sign up for a nursing assistant program.
Okay.
So I completed that program and then started working in nursing homes around the state, and then landed in a nursing assistant position at the University of Iowa emergency room.
Wow.
And that was just an incredible experience, not only for me to really grow into who I was becoming, but also realize that that was truly what my passion and where my gifts were. Mm-hmm. I initially thought medicine, and you just kind of start falling into things, it's kind of like you're led where you need to serve.
Right.
And so it was in the University of Iowa that I met a group of oral surgeons, mm-hmm. and not Nick. That was later.
That was later.
I was really young at this point, but and I always ask people their story. I'm always interested in how you end up where you're going or where you've been, and I asked them where they all went to medical school, and they said actually we went to dental school. And so from there it was just starting to look at different opportunities and tracks that mm-hmm. way, and ended up at the University of Iowa.
Well, we know, it's a great dental school. Having been a dental rep for many years, Iowa's one of the top schools. So you go through undergraduate. What's the process? I think, most people look at when you go into medicine, like it's something that's very intimidating. And obviously the grades and things like that go into it. But what was the process like for you, one, getting into dental school and then kind of making your way through that?
I would say pure tenacity. I think that you have to dig deep in multiple situations, and not that we look forward to failure, but you learn a lot through that. And I learned a lot through failure, and not only academics, but different aspects of even learning through experience in the emergency room. So all of that gave me the directionality of digging deep and continuing when things got hard. So yes, dental school. This is a wonderful dental school. I can't tell you enough about the University of Iowa. It provided the foundation for where my family started and where they're going.
Right.
But it's the process itself. You have to just trust it. And I think that wherever you're at in life, I mean, regardless as to whether or not it's dentistry or 8th grade at Regis Middle School, like my oldest, you just have to trust the process.
Yeah.
And then lean on the people that have always been a part of your core in order to get you to where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so dental school, you get in, you get out and you're working. So most people don't realize, like, out of dental school, you become an associate most times, and you're working for, a doctor who's been in the industry for a long time. But I think you were working in Waterloo. Yeah.
I was, but my story was way before Waterloo.
Okay.
In undergrad, and we're probably going to get a little personal here, but we might as well just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead
absolutely.
and do it. So I went to college with my two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So, try to find a date when you're living with your 2 older brothers.
That's what it feels like.
But you know what? They helped me survive many. But I will tell you that my brother Matt ended up going into ROTC.
Okay.
And so he was in the Air Force, and I was simply just, I hung out with all the Air Force, all the Air Force guys, and I just was like, you know what? You guys are pretty cute. I think I can handle this. So when I went into dental school, I found out that there was a scholarship program where I could actually serve in the military, and thought, this is the cream of the crop. This is the way I want to go. So I applied for that, and I actually was accepted.
Okay.
So I went through dental school as through the Air Force.
Okay.
And then after dental school, I served 3 years. And then came back and was a dentist, and then Waterloo.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
It was awesome. I would highly recommend it for anyone. It was truly a way to understand different parts about this country in true service. So there were so many parts of it that we could talk about and go into that I won't. But coming back after the military, I was a adjunct at the University of Iowa as well as private practice.
Okay.
And then, so I was in general dentistry all through through my military service. And I learned a lot about general dentistry at that point.
Gotcha.
So you talk about being an associate.
Yeah.
I went into the best associateship you could possibly ever, where you walk in with multiple people of different experience levels, all there to help this, young captain become a dentist.
Yeah.
So it was a neat experience.
That's awesome. That's the great part. It's like, it's so funny. Every time we talk, it's like I get to know a little bit more about you, or there's something that we hadn't talked about before, even though we've talked about a lot of things. It's
Yes, we have.
It's like, yeah, okay, I didn't know that. So where does Nick where does he fit into this whole thing with you going to the Air Force? And for all our audience, her husband Nick Morio is an oral surgeon.
Correct.
In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and he's got his own practice there, very successful practice, and he's been good to me. I mean, honestly, I think my dental career as a rep was better because I knew him and because of the people that he connected me to. But yeah, how does Nick and Kim come together here?
He's a really good man, and I can't tell you that I definitely chose a wonderful life teammate to be able to continue on with the legacy that we're going to leave behind. So Nick, I actually was doing research in oral surgery in undergrad. And I was doing research with, ironically, Nick's partner's wife.
Oh, okay.
And so I walked into the oral surgery clinic to do my clinical research, praying that there would be no one there because,
Right.
I mean, you're a D2 student. The last thing you want to do is walk in and see people who actually know what they're doing, right? So I walk in and I'm like, oh, my gosh. She was the first one that stood up and said, hello, it's nice to meet you. And from there, it went really quickly. But I had already accepted to the military. And I was a little bit resistant to any type of true commitment because, I mean, I was going away.
Right.
My brother at that point had already been deployed a couple times, and so that was just going to be part of my plan. However, I am a very faithful person, and you and I have talked a lot about that. And, kind of consistency throughout this whole podcast is probably that I I will serve where I'm led.
Right.
And so I was feeling like this is probably the person I need to be with. But he had already committed to starting a practice in Cedar Rapids. So we met in dental school. We got married my D3 year. I was pregnant with Bo, my oldest, my D4 year.
Yeah.
And then I graduated, and he stayed here in Cedar Rapids, and I packed up my car, pregnant, with my 2 dogs, and I drove to the Air Force Base.
Wow.
And I showed up, and I just was like, hi, guys.
Yeah, here I am.
Here I am.
That's awesome.
But it was great because what it did was it truly built the foundation of what it meant for us as a couple and being able to get through those early hardships of not only knowing how to be married, but also being young parents.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's awesome. Yeah, you guys do. You know, it's amazing, your schedule, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later with your boys and your practices and all the other stuff that you got going on. But it was a drive. I believe you told me it was a drive either to Waterloo or from Waterloo where you were like, something was calling you to go into endodontics. And
Correct.
So once again, for our audience, you know, they'd have to do their their general dentistry practice, and then it's about, do you want to specialize? And then that adds on a few more years and special training and things like that. So not a lot of people look at going into endodontics as a way to go in dentistry, because as a rep, I think most assistants said it's like the most boring procedure you could do. I can't tell you how many times I heard that, but yeah, what was it that, you know, like you said, steered you to go into endodontics?
And that's a great question, because I will tell you, in the 3 years that I was in the military, it was the one procedure that scared me the most. And just because being a perfectionist by nature, that's exactly what you want to deliver in every procedure that you give somebody, is pure perfection. And so I was driving up to Waterloo. I was actually pregnant with my third boy at that point. And it was almost just like your mind starts to wander. And it was almost just like, it was like a calling, just, you know, thinking about different opportunities, you know, am I headed in the right direction? All of these questions that I think everyone ends up asking themselves at some point along in their journey.
Yeah.
And there was this weird little voice, you know, I call it my gut. And, you know, I've learned to listen to my gut, because I believe my gut has always been a higher calling, and that was, go apply to endo. And at first I'm like, that's insane. That's the stupidest thing you could ever think of in your life. That I started to learn to enjoy it the more that I was, you know, guided through it in the military, but not to the point where I was like, this is exactly what, you know, I saw myself doing. And I'm like, there's no way. I have now 3 kids on the way. We're extremely busy. There's no way that this is ever something that I'm going to put myself out there to do. Plus, I didn't want to put myself out there. I think anytime you put yourself in a vulnerable situation, you're going to have to deal with the fact that you might be told no. And being told no opens up a whole nother, you know, kind of raw feelings that nobody wants to deal with.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, fought it. It was just like, whatever, who cares? I'm just going to do it. And then maybe this whole little gut feeling will just go away, and then I can just move on.
Right.
Well, then the University of Iowa, which again, amazing, gave me the opportunity. Yeah. And so I show up the first day. I am literally the oldest person there. I have 3 children. It's like, so, but I was accepted into a family, and it was another wonderful part of my life that I am so thankful for. Yeah. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the skills, and then also, again, how I continue to care for patients in a totally different manner. Yeah. So it was definitely a calling, and every day that I go into work, I'm extremely thankful that that's where I ended up. Yeah.
So you go from general dentistry, where you're doing a bunch of things, to endodontics, where you're just doing root canals all day long.
All day long. But I'm going to tell you something. I know that sounds like, the people are just like, woof, what are you talking about? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just like anything. You know, we started Stillwater Coffee associated to Nick's office, and that holds near and dear to my heart as well. But it's all a part of the serving the greater good, right? Yeah. You know, we started that to serve the whole patient. I truly feel that I went into this specialty to serve people and be able to provide them an experience outside of what they may have thought of as a root canal. Right. If I can get them to forget why they're there and laugh the whole way through it, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's why I do it.
Yeah, and it's so weird. Like, I love that part. I miss that part of it, of being in the operatory and watching those watching the procedure or helping with the procedure. But people, there's a lot of dentists are like, that's the one thing they hate doing is root canals. But
you know what? And I understand that. And it's one of those things that it's, you have to feel that feeling. And I remember that feeling, to truly appreciate how the experience it takes to get to where you want to be, where you feel like you can do a good job at it. And it just takes somebody else sitting there who has that knowledge saying, why don't you do it this way? And so, again, I understand where they're coming from. I was exactly there myself, but it's also something that now it's extremely joyful.
Absolutely. Well, I want to go back to, you talk about being vulnerable when you applied for school. But I think you're also entering a professional where you're very vulnerable as well, because it's a predominantly male specialty in endodontics. And you and I have talked a number of times about what you would like to see when it comes to women in that specialty, not only from a local level, but from like a national level. And so, I mean, was that something that you thought about going into endo? Like, hey, there's not a lot of women in it, and this is just another way that I can, help create something, open a door for other women. I mean, did that ever cross your mind at all?
Yes and no, I would say. It's one of those things where when I walked onto the military base, I was the only female dentist. And there was 21 other male dentists, and I walk in without my husband. He's in Iowa, and I'm pregnant. Yeah. And I will tell you that it's just, what it taught me was that you just have to earn. You have to earn your seat. And I had so many wonderful leaders at that point that they gave me a seat at the table. I worked hard. They gave me a seat at the table. So I saw it as something that was only going to benefit not only the profession, but also continually benefit me as a mother, and showing my children that, you can do everything. It's definitely not going to be perfect on days, but you work hard. You can do everything as long as you're doing it and with the end in mind as to what you want to leave behind. Right.
No, and another thing too is just how you put yourself out there. Again, you finish endo school, you go into another practice with other doctors, then all of a sudden I get a call from you talking about, I'm going to open up my own office. Like, you're the only female endodontist in Cedar Rapids. And so, like, how did that feel? Like, you had to be thinking, okay, I got 4 boys, I got a husband, he's got his own practice, and now I'm going to open up my own practice. Like, you got a lot. I mean, you're trailblazing. There's a lot of things you got going on, but there had to be some level of like, what the heck am I getting myself into when you decided to go off on your own and start Apex Endodontics?
I absolutely. And I think some days I still wonder, like, what was I thinking when I decided to go off and do this? However, I see it as continually opening the doors. Yes, do I see it as vulnerability? Absolutely. But in order to really become the person that you are wanting to become, you have to put yourself out there. And sometimes being authentically raw is exactly how to do that. I will tell you, many days I have to kind of force some voices out of my head in order to keep, trudging forward. Yeah. But it has opened a lot of doors, and, it's opened a lot of doors in mentorship. You talk about different female dentists and different females in the area, just being able to relate to different people on different levels, and then people now coming to me in order to try to help them through situations. It's all a part of that story. Yeah. But it doesn't come without its hard work or some skinned up knees. Yep.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. But no, I think it's important. Now I look at what you do as a professional woman, and I think about the girls that I'm coaching and my daughter too. And I think it's important that the message that you're sending out there is like, it's okay to put yourself out there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. But I think in putting yourself out there, you still have to have a plan. Like, you just can't jump out there. And I know we talk about faith a lot and having faith, but sometimes having faith is also having a plan of like you said, where you want to go, and understanding the steps that it's going to take to get there.
That's exactly correct. And understanding that those steps are going to take a lot of hard work. It's not just because of, luck is directly related to the amount of hard work that you put into something. but sometimes you just have to jump.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes that either may not totally be like, you know, exactly road and every roadblock and every stop sign that's going to be in your future. But you do realize that as long as you stick with a plan,
Right.
that the end will be exactly what you had envisioned. However, the road getting there may not be.
Right. Right.
Which is sometimes the hardest part in making sure that you keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
But no, I think it's just amazing what you're doing with all of these young girls. I mean, this is truly that they're at this point where they can do anything that they want to do. And that is just, you know, it's like looking at my young kids right now. I mean, they are honestly at this point in their lives where we every day we go to school, like literally, you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and that is just something that, you know, where you look at youth, the older you get, and you think, wow, if only I would have known.
Right.
If only I would have known to listen to my great-grandmother a little bit more other than being like, okay, here we go.
Right.
But true wisdom, you know, coming through people who have walked those steps, you know, and but then also forgiving yourself because you didn't listen.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think back to multiple times that I sat with not only my parents, my grandparents, great-parents. I have a wonderful foundation full of individuals who have been behind me all the way. But I will tell you, their wisdom speaks louder now
Oh, absolutely.
than when I should have listened. But you know what? That's I guess that's all about growing up.
Yeah, but the thing is, you may not have utilized the knowledge that was spoken to you, but you absorbed it, and now you can look back and say, okay, yeah, you know, I mean, so it's there, it's imprinted in you. It's just a matter of you utilizing it at certain points in your life. And
that's exactly true. And I mean, it's like raising kids.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if anybody would have told me that this is what it was going to be like, I would have laughed at them because I thought my kids were always going to be in matching outfits and clean.
Yeah.
You know, but then you realize that's just not not the way it is.
Yeah.
And the older the boys get, the more I realize that we're kind of raising each other.
Yeah, no doubt. But this is a great segue because of, like, you talk about hard work and you talk about it. And yes, you have 4 boys, you have, you know, no girls. And we've talked about too, like, I don't know if I would know how to raise a daughter.
I don't know if she would survive in this house.
But, you know, for our Hawkeye audience, this is really special. It's unprecedented. But your 13-year-old son, Bo, is the youngest commit ever to the University of Iowa baseball program. And that in itself is an unbelievable feat. And obviously knowing you and Nick, but now having and getting to know Bo, and I think he's the real deal. And the one thing people will say when they say, well, his mom and dad are both dentists, is like, well, he has opportunity. He has an advantage over other people, and that may be so. But the one thing I really tried to press upon him was just how hard he's worked to get there, and don't let anybody ever tell you anything else. So, tell me about that moment when your son was offered a scholarship. Like, I heard it from him, but I want to know what mom felt in that moment when you're on this Zoom and they basically say, hey, we want you to come to the University of Iowa, and he's like, yeah, sure. Like, all right, here I go. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, just listening even to you recap that story just brings back all of those emotions as to when you're sitting there with still a young man making a very big boy decision. And it brings back all the emotions of just true honor. Being able to be a part of his journey is just it's a gift. Yeah. You're exactly right. He has worked incredible amounts, both on and off the field, to be able to get to where he has, you know, to where he's going and where he intends to be. But it's something that our family, like, it takes all commitments and everything with honor. Yeah. And it's something that we are looking so much forward to him and the changes that he's going to make in this world. Yeah. And, you know, and that's what I've told him is that you have been given a gift, and now your gift is to not only go and just be the man that you're going to become, but also see who all you're going to serve along the way. So it was an amazing conversation. And I will also tell you that, you know, as being a mother of a young boy, you're also incredibly want to see the leadership that your son will then be a part of. And just following suit with everything that I've been involved with at the University of Iowa, the leadership itself was just absolutely incredible. We are so excited to just be a part of that program and that team, not only for Bo, but just to see where they're going to head and where they're going. Yeah,
they do. They have great leadership there. But there has to be some things, and we've talked a little bit about it, but there has to be, what's the word I want to use? I guess I'll use anxiety in this moment. There has to be some anxiety as a mom when your son now, okay, he's committed, or he's committed to the University of Iowa, and we've talked about it. Most people now will come out to watch him fail or say that he's not this or not that, as opposed to come out and celebrate the kid for, we've talked about his hard work and his dedication and just the opportunity that he's opened this door for himself. Like, what are some of the things that you're, you know, just a little apprehensive with it too? Because with this, like you said, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, and he's only 13.
Correct. And, you know, and that just opens up a whole different platform of just getting raw and just getting real, right? I mean, it's just something that all of us experience. You know, we all experience that feel of failure and of anxiety. And as a parent, you want to kind of protect your child from that. However, you know that your child's never going to be protected from it for the rest of their lives, so why not have them start experiencing how they're going to handle it now? But then also, this is where we start to grow up together, right? It's truly about how can you control the noise, you know? And this is something that I think that we're all trying to still figure out. For us as a family, it's a matter of controlling social media. The social media alone, you know, is something that my husband Nick is incredibly good at, but again, it's one of those things that we turn it off and we turn it on when it's necessary.
Right.
You know, it's about 90-10. We were just talking about this before I walked in. It's about 90-10, right? But then, you know, the 90 of just the positives are all just kind of like, okay, but then you end up allowing that 10 to plague you.
Right.
He's not old enough. I don't know if any of us are old enough or have the maturity to really understand how to handle that 10%. So being able to just turn it off and then just focus on where he's developing, not just as a baseball player, but as an individual, is what's going to help him, I believe, kind of deal with that noise. And then also understanding that, you may just have a lot of friends, and friends that have been there, and because they were there during the failures, but during the successes, it might get a little bit more quiet. But during that quiet is when you can look around and you really realize who your core is, right? And
Absolutely.
so that's when you hunker down, you hold in, and those are the people that are going to be around you and the ups and downs. And trust me, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not just all going to be rainbows and butterflies, but that's life itself. And so again, yes, I have some anxiety, and yes, there's maybe a little bit of reservation because you never want your child to go through anything where there's potential for failure. But what do I want to do? Keep him in a box? He's got to live his life, and this is his dream. And so in living out his dream, this is you know, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of faith. It's going to take the right individuals to kind of surround ourselves with. But you know, just like where you may not know how you're going to get to the end, you just put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And I love like having the conversation with him that I did about shrinking your circle and having the right people. And when you've talked about that a lot, is just the right people around him. And we talked about building a team of people around him, just like we've done with Chris and Keegan. They've had their two best friends they've known since they were 5 years old. And I told him, and hopefully I think he accepted it. I was like, all the people that say they're your friends now, like literally that's going to shrink to about, you know, you can count them on one hand as far as like who's truly there for you. Because in the moments where you said things are going great and it gets quiet from some of those are the people that you really have to, I wouldn't say worry about, but those are the people you sometimes have to separate yourself from, because the quiet is usually jealousy. Not thinking that you or he deserves what he's gotten. But in the same thing, it's like, have you put in the same work? like, I know, I will never say that certain people aren't privileged. And we know baseball is an expensive sport, our boys said. But beside that point, taking all that away, all things being equal, it's still, your son still has to put in the work to be able to go out and perform. And that's the one thing I want people to understand is like, yeah, they may be an advantage here or there, but you still got to put the work in. It doesn't matter. Like, nothing's going to be given to you.
Right.
And so I think he's done a good job of that. But yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him, and the future's bright. It's just a matter, like you said, of making sure you have the right group around him.
But I mean, athletics is just an amazing way to raise your children. I mean, and it doesn't have to be baseball. It can be anything. I mean, what it does is it puts them in a situation where they learn how to have to deal with a team. They have to learn how to deal with adversity. And so years ago when we started traveling with him, I mean, it was not necessarily that this is like, we were forcing any type of end result that we were looking for. We saw that this is one. I'm going to be very honest with you. When I was a young parent and Nick had his office was just getting started, there wasn't a lot of family vacations. And so family vacations started to revolve around baseball. We started to be able to spend time together as a family on the baseball field, and that truly became just a very special memory. Yep. From that developed just the love of the game. I mean, I've always loved the game, but to watch your children love the game is something that just makes you love it even more. But it's just allowed him to be putting all of our kids in that situation, as you know, it just develops those skill sets for anything that they're going to accomplish in life, from whatever job that they decide to go in, whatever interview that they want to be in, they're able to walk in and learn how to communicate, learn how to be able to identify and then relate to the individuals around them. It's getting them out into the world because, like everybody that we bring into his life, and again, that he is a part of, is shaping who he's becoming. And that's what I want for all of my boys, and again, that's just, again, it comes with its ups and it comes with its downs.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mentioned to you one time when this all started, I was like, you're going to have to sit your other three boys down and talk to them about this whole Bo Morio, University of Iowa Hawkeye baseball player, because they're going to be affected by it too. That's the one thing, like we see it a little bit with McKenna, but I think being a girl is a little bit different with having, two brothers that obviously are high profile, and Demetrius was a very good athlete as well. So how are those conversations going with the boys? I mean, I want to know, like, are they excited for Bo? Are they like, because it's like, oh man, our big brother is like committed. Like, so how has that been with your boys and the conversations you've had with them?
Well, they're young. I mean, and so the conversations that you and I are having right now are a little bit too high level, so it's a matter of being able to guide them in a way that they understand in order to go out and relay the message that we want our family to continue to relay. And so a lot of that is just them being quiet. You don't need to be the loudest one in the room. All it is being humility and saying thank you and being kind. And so have they dealt with it? Yes. Do they talk about it with me individually? Yeah. And they do, because a lot of them now, they see themselves, right? They see that this is something that they would like to do too. Yeah. And so how can they accomplish that? And then Case says to me, he said, so, how old do you think I can be to do this? And I'm like, everybody has their own story, Case. And so, no, it is something that, that you've dealt with as a family as well, is just how that the ramifications are at each level. And each level gets a little bit different. And again, I think from a parent perspective, trying to keep the competition between everybody at a minimum, but that is something too that is only going to drive them to be better.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I really lean on Bo as the oldest, as realizing that he has been given this opportunity, and now it is his job as the leader of these four boys to get them out there and work hard with them too, but also stand together as one. Because with the positives can come some noise, as we've talked before. And so there's nobody who's going to be in your circle more than your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's got their back.
No, your story it's incredible. And I still don't know how you do everything that you do. But you talked about it a little bit ago. So, we're talking about looking forward. And obviously there's the professional Kim as far as being the dentist.
Right.
But you also mentioned your coffee house, and you've taken that thing. You're doing music and all this other kind of stuff now. So that's one of your passions.
It is.
Like, it's one of your passions. So how did Stillwater Coffee come to be, and what do you see it becoming? Or what's your vision for it moving forward?
Oh, I mean, the vision as to even where we started and where we have gone is truly about the people that have been brought into my life to continue this. But going back to where this all started, I mean, Stillwater, I live on Stillwater Cove. You know, it goes back to just me loving the verse, just be still. It's just something that means a lot to me. And it's something that I felt, you know, it's not, I don't need to be loud with it, but I can just make subtle little, you know, comments through here and there and just maybe bring some peace. But when Nick had started that, he built a new building over there, and I told him, I said, you know, we should really consider doing something that's not just going to serve the patient, but serves the whole patient. And that includes the family members. That includes giving a little bit of kindness and love to those individuals that may be waiting for those people. And so that's where it all kind of started. And it's kind of grown into a music venue because of all of the wonderful people that have been brought into my life. Elizabeth Von Presley, she's amazing. And she's been able to take it to that next level with her gifts. And, you know, and what you see is just continual, contagious kindness. Is just that's what we're looking for, is just authentic kindness and being able to just deliver a little love. I know that sounds so cheesy, but at the end of the day, I really think that the simplicity of it all is what people are really looking for. And so where do I see it going? Oh man, could you take it? You could take it to, you know, let's go. How far do you want to go? But you know, with it at this point in time, it's one of those things that I agree. Like, we all have to have a plan, and so I think it's something that we're trying to manage as to what the plan is and where we're going, and see what opportunities come our way. And so it's you know, Elizabeth's going to be opening up for different types of like music festivals, but not only just to like serve the community, but also just to bring more people to Hiawatha. You know, I mean, so it's just, there's a lot of different opportunities out there that we're still looking at.
All right, that's awesome. So last thing before I got some rapid fire questions, but the last thing, and I know I sent this to you, but and I know you thought long and hard about this and probably changed your answer to it about 5 times. But what does legacy mean to you?
That is a really hard question, but I think everybody has their own definition, as they do for everything in life. And you know, it's you look at the symbol that you have of legacy. I mean, and truly, that symbol of legacy it just comes down to family. You know, at the end of the day, all we have left is the story. You know, I mean, that is something that my mom has always said to me. It's something that you don't really grasp until you get to the point in your life where all of a sudden now you start to understand that. And what is the story that is going to be told and what's going to be left behind? So what is the legacy? It's the people that you can influence in a positive way. Family goes deeper than just my blood relatives. It's the people that, you know, you reach out and you touch and you're able to change, and then potentially change that next event in their lives. And so the legacy is something that just continues to build and onto something that's just bigger, just like that roots of that tree, you know. So it's not just something that, you know, just comes within the people that live in my house, but it's with everyone that, you know, I come in contact around me, that I can continue to maybe influence in some sort of way to do good.
Yeah, I love it. You're so thoughtful.
Oh,
you're very thoughtful. All right, so I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions, and I gave you a heads up. So
you did, and so you better stick to the script, because I had to do some research. In fact, that first rapid fire question, what was my first concert, or is that my first one?
No, that was the second one. That was the second one. The first one is just, what's your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's easy. Tiramisu.
Tiramisu? Okay, I like that. It wouldn't be my go-to, but, you know.
Oh.
These are for you. So. All right. So what was the first concert you ever went to?
See, I had to do some research.
Yeah.
I never grew up going to concerts.
Really?
No, I didn't. I did not go up to concerts. The first concert I went to, I actually went to with Nick.
Okay.
And it's a Brooks and Dunn, and I was not a country fan. And so, you know, we met, and he was all country.
Yeah.
And this is when you used to make CDs for people.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, when you're trying to like go out on dates, you would like make a CD of your playlist. and he made me a CD of I didn't think they were great songs, but he did, and I was like, okay, well, let's go to this concert. Brooks and Dunn.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Okay. Last one. What's your go-to feel good song or movie?
Ooh, see, and I thought a lot about that too.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of a sap.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would really, my song that I love the most is Ed Sheeran. Castle on a Hill.
Okay.
Because I'm always drawn to home.
Right.
No matter where you're at, no matter where you're going in life, no matter where you've been, my heart is where my home is.
Yeah.
So, and I love that song. Movie is, I'm going to have to be cheesy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm military. My
Yeah.
brother is a military pilot. My brother-in-law is a military pilot. Come on. No, you can't roll your eyes. It is the best movie out there right now.
Are you about to say Top Gun?
Maverick, okay. The new one.
Yeah, the new one.
It is so good.
I haven't watched it. Michelle and McKenna said it's a good movie.
Oh, I was very resistant to it myself.
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and I've watched it 10 times.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I learned something new every time.
Okay. And so do I about you. All the time. Well, Doc, I know I call you Doc. I call you Kim. Like, you know, just usually it's depending on where we're at. But I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast today. You did a wonderful job. And like I said, you have an unbelievable family. I'm looking so forward to Bo's journey and your other boys' journey. And like I told you and Nick, like anything you guys need from me when it comes to helping him through this process, I'm there for you guys. You're my extended family too. So
That's how we feel too. And I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with him.
Yeah.
Meant a lot.
He's a good kid. Well, hey, like I said, I want to leave you with a quote today from crisis strategist Peter Stropel. Legacy is not leaving something for people, it's leaving something in people. A big thank you to Dr. Kimberly Morio for joining us today. And remember, please go to the Talk About Network on YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, and hit that notification button so you know when the new episode drops. You can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Kenyon Murray. Until next time. This podcast is sponsored by Storyline Multimedia. Storyline is an Iowa City-based media company that specializes in creating high-quality video, photo, and audio productions for local businesses. Not only that, but they also produce a number of podcasts, including this one. So if you're interested in sharing the story of your business with the world, contact them today by visiting StorylineMultimedia.com. And remember, your story matters.